All right, take two. First rule of this channel, we do not talk about the channel. Second rule of this channel, this is not legal advice. So, welcome to How the Sausage Was Made for week 15. Hopefully, overall, your fantasy playoffs are going well and you're winning. I got bounced in one of my leagues because I did see CMC, Cooper Cup, Gibbs, and Laporta. So overall, like right now, it looks like CMC is not only going to be the fantasy MVP, he's also going to be the playoffs MVP if he can hold it together. When we talk about Tyreek Hill overall, like how valuable he is or isn't from a fantasy perspective, him missing this opening week is definitely going to hurt his overall stack. He may have got you to the playoffs, but if he was in the opening round for you, you might have got bounced because you didn't have him. That's going to downgrade him slightly overall, but like overall, like he would potentially be the guy that could hold a candle to Christian McCaffrey. But overall, Christian McCaffrey is going to be the guy, and then we're going to be back in that conversation about like having the 101 and snake redraft being the most valuable thing overall. But that's why I have Christian McCaffrey there. He did do 39.20 points, 18 for 115, one touchdown, 5 for 72 and a touchdown in that game for the 49ers. Overall, the two guys I said I wasn't really interested in rolling out would be Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield combined for 9 touchdown passes between the two of them. Again, that's fantasy. Like we're just trying to look for things in the tea leaves, but sometimes they're not going to be overwhelmingly predictive. But I will say it again, like when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And these are two guys I didn't think were going to do what they did, and they just went ahead and proved me wrong. Baker May doing a 381 that was a little surprising to me. Aiden O'Connell was not overwhelmingly surprising in that matchup with the Chargers, the 4 touchdown passes. Neither is Brock Purdy. Again, this is a guy I've been saying, like, he's going to give you a 40-degree with that chance to win you your week, and he did it with 4 touchdown passes. Gardner Minshew, right now, he's quarterback 5 overall. Not surprising in that matchup. 3 touchdown passes. Derek Carr, a little surprising with his 3 touchdown passes. Very similar stat lines between Carr and Minshew. But again, I don't think that Derek Carr is necessarily a good role because of Taysom Hill. We'll get to Taysom Hill later on. We look at the box scores. Jake Browning, this was one of those ones that I could definitely see rolling him out against Minnesota. He's quarterback 7 overall. Flacco, ugly game, and then he gets it done late. He's quarterback 8. Lamar Jackson does actually get it done, quarterback 9, and then Nick Mullins 10. Matt Stafford, the guy I thought was going to be quarterback 1 overall. He's quarterback 11. Easton Stick, the Chargers quarterback right now, hanging out quarterback 12 going in the Monday night game. And then Patrick Mahomes is one of the ones we were talking about all week long. Hopefully you benched him and you played one of those guys that were predictive and you won your week. Doing slightly better than the 17 points. I would say that's about 40-degree day territory. And this is what I was talking about with Patrick Mahomes. Like you're this streak that he's been on is basically like I'm hoping for a 40-degree day, or he could actually give me a sub 40-degree day like he did with Denver. That's part of the reason why the thought process about benching Patrick Mahomes at this point. So if you did that, hopefully it didn't backfire for you. Moving on to the running backs, we already talked about McCaffrey, James Cook. This is a really interesting game where they just like the Bills just ran the football. Jahmyr Gibbs, this is the guy that killed me. 1 receiving touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown on limited carries. Time Chandler, this was a guy predictive. Kieran Williams, another guy's predictive. Rachaad White, he's going to be up there for one of the more valuable fantasy football picks going into the offseason. The fact of the matter is, like, everybody could have had a chance to get Rachaad White, and the guy that took him, probably the guy that overpaid for him or got lucky and had him fall to him. Like, that's going to be a guy that the guy that's going to win a lot of leagues. Kieran Williams is a guy that we're going to be able to, everybody would have had a shot at, but Rachaad White, like, you still had a shot at him, but he went at a certain point in the draft where you had to be savvy enough to either go get him early or everybody else had to downplay him. And then Ty Chandler, he's going to be in the conversation for fantasy MVP if he can continue to put up over the next 2 weeks. Devin Singletary, running back 7. This is a guy I was wrong on. Clyde, not surprising. Opportunity is king. Mostert, same thing. Opportunity is king. He was inefficient, did find 2 touchdowns. And then James Conner. This was not a predictive matchup against the 49ers. Did find the end zone. Was also surprising, 14 for 86. And then Zamir White, running back 11. Jarrett McKinnon, again, red zone guy, going to get the efficient carries that we look for in fantasy. He gets a receiving touch or excuse me, gets a rushing touchdown to go with a passing touchdown. He threw a touchdown and he caught a touchdown. There you go. And then Joe Mixon being volume based overall. Jordan Addison, hopefully, you got your Jordan Addison shares and you rolled them out. I dropped them in the league. I don't know how predictive this was. 6 for 6 for 111 and 2 touchdowns. Waddle was predictive with Tyreek billing out. McLaurin was somewhat predictive in the matchup. I could definitely see him being benched. Also predictive. Cup doing Cup things. Brown, Godwin, another one that's surprising at wide receiver 6 overall. That would have been a gamble play. He hasn't been getting it done, and this is like coming off the 11 targets. So I guess if you're chasing the 11 targets off the 3 targets, no receptions, I could maybe see him being rolled out in wide receiver 3 lane. Debo gets the 2 receiving touchdowns. So does T. Higgins. T. Higgins would have been like that wide receiver 3 boom bust type range. Debo would have been another one of those guys that like, you can get it done every week. And then there's Rashid Rice. Slowly but surely, he's going to be in the consideration for, value-based wide receiver overall on the season. Probably Puka's still going to be there, but Rice like maybe for the playoffs overall. And then Josh Palmer, again, most of this came on a busted coverage touchdown, but overall, like I don't know how many people were rolling out their Josh Palmer shares coming off of the IR with the backup quarterback, but hopefully you did in this one overall. Tight ends, Sam Laporta, those are the 3 touchdowns that got me bounced in my main money league right there. David Njoku, he's going to be up there for value, tight end, overall value in the playoffs. He's going to be a guy that's going to be really important. Hunter Henry gets it done again. I did see he get knocked out. Isaiah Likely is going to be another one that's going to be very valuable. Trey McBride probably is the fantasy unicorn right now when it comes to tight end. It's no longer Travis Kelce. Tucker Croft, that's predictive. Don't know anything about Elijah Higgins. Then I don't think anybody rolled out their Michael Mayer shares. Probably Cole Kmet. This was predictive, because of how he's used in the red zone with Justin Fields. And believe it or not, Juwan Johnson was predictive with those vacated targets overall. Defensively, the Raiders were defense 1 overall. That was really predictive ahead of time. So were the Dolphins, even though I didn't particularly think it, I thought it was going to be very, very difficult to decide which way it was going to go after, the Dolphins didn't entirely get it done against Tennessee and the Jets looked better overall. The Bears were somewhat predictive in this game against Cleveland. 18 points, 49ers were predictive. So were the Colts, Saints, Texans. Again, this was one of the ones where it's like, should I roll them out after they disappointed me? Well, the answer to that was yes. Bills, this is one that was really interesting right there. That Cowboys game. Ravens against Ravens are a weekly start especially against the Jaguars. All right, let's move on to the box scores this week. So the big news right now, if you're into this type of thing, Jalen Hurts may or may not be playing. I should pull this up so I can talk about this. So this is a little interesting to me. So I've never seen this happen before. So they actually he came down with an injury designation for illness, and then they downgraded him to questionable after saying, "Oh, he should play." So he's going to take a flight by himself out there, and right now, have no idea if he's going to play or not. And this is going to be difficult because I don't even know how you would necessarily plan around this thing going forward. Hopefully you caught this early in the day and you drop somebody on your bench so you could pick up Marcus Mariota, I guess, would be the guy that you'd be looking at in this one. Maybe you could get Geno Smith in your league if you were quick on the draw. It could actually be Drew Lock. This is going to be really interesting in a lot of fantasy playoffs going down the line. Overall, so moving on to the Chargers Raiders, already kind of talked about this game. Don't have a lot to say. Absolute beatdown by the Raiders on the Chargers. Got the Brandon Staley fired. Overall, not going to talk too much about the Chargers. Easton Stick, 3 touchdown passes, way all over the place in this game because of how bad the beating got. You see it 42-0. Those 3 touchdown passes came late. One was a busted coverage in this one. Let's see. The Raiders on the other side, Zamir White did control the backfield, wasn't very efficient. But I expect that if Josh Jacobs misses time, he's going to be in that volume-based RB2 type of range. And then everything else is kind of what we thought. Trey Tucker was a guy that we were tracking on. They did get manufactured touches to Javonte Adams because Jacoby Myers did have 2 throws, and they were both to Devontae. So again, like I guess if you're rolling out your shares in the future, you should feel okay, I guess. But that's kind of what happened in this game. The bigger news is going to be that Raiders defense is probably going to win a lot of people their first rounds. So moving on to the Vikings Bengals game, this one was a little crazy. So Ty Chandler does find the end zone early in this one. And then you see the Bengals put up 21 points in the fourth quarter. Again, this is just the Minnesota Vikings and their luck this year. And then the Bengals do get the field goal in overtime to win the game, and they're back in the playoff hunt with backup Jake Browning. Overall, Jake Browning, again, serviceable guy. I didn't know how much you could trust the matchup against the Vikings and the Vikings defense. He does through 2 touchdown passes. I did see that Jamar Chase did get knocked out in this one. T. Higgins had an absolute amazing catch in this one, where he was able to twist backwards and put it over the pylon. That was pretty amazing overall. So those 2 touchdowns, if you're rolling out your T. Higgins here, a guy who's been disappointing, will get you home. Overall, Joe Mixon finds the end zone on his on his 10 carries overall. So he should be able to give you a 40-degree day. Overall, from the Viking standpoint, Nick Mullins was serviceable. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions to keep most of the toys on schedule. Justin Jefferson, his 10 targets, 7 for 84. Hawkinson, 7 targets, 6 for 63. And then the big winner, Jordan Addison, 6 targets, 6 for 111 and 2 touchdowns. That's probably the biggest thing is how would we be able to predict Jordan Addison after how bad Josh Dobbs has been over the last few weeks, and then with Justin Jefferson coming back, we went out and we got the capital on Jordan Addison, expecting him to get the targets from when they decided to take Justin Jefferson away, and then we haven't seen that since early in the season when Kirk Cousins got injured. All right, Steelers and Colts, and overall, this was pretty much the Colts putting this away in the second half. It was 13-14 at halftime, and then 16 unanswered points by the Colts in the second half. Mitch Trubisky did look like at one point he was going to be the quarterback overall to be rolling out, the streaming quarterback. Did have a touchdown pass and a touchdown run early, and then he just did Mitch Trubisky things and threw 2 interceptions late. Overall, and then trying to predict who's going to get the work between Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris. Neither of them find the end zone. Deontay Johnson is the only other guy that finds the end zone, so he's the only guy that's fantasy relevant there. Gardner Minshew, again, this is just what I was thinking about, overall why I would be looking for a guy like him in his matchup. He's got the toys. The backup running back, Zach Moss, did knocked out in this game. But again, Zach Moss hasn't been efficient. The Steelers haven't been a particularly good offense. I'm thinking that he can get home maybe on the ground because he is a little bit nimbly guy and does have the ability to throw me a couple touchdown passes. And in the league that I rolled him out, I just needed a 40-degree day. I wasn't trying to get cute with him, and he got me home there. Overall, I got to talk about this. Trey Sermon does look like he's the cuff with Zach Moss going out. He does 17 for 88. Michael Pittman did get knocked out 4 for 78 on his 5 targets overall. And then everything else just turns into whatever's been going on in Colts land. The 2 guys that we thought were going to be able to get home, Alex Pierce, his catch was early in the first half. Josh Downs, only 3 targets. And then we're chasing those tight ends. And then some of the other guys, I don't even know anything about to really say anything at this particular juncture. Broncos Lions. So this game was another one that I said, I have no way to predict this with the Broncos looking better and the Lions looking worse. The one interesting thing, and I'm going to point this out right down here, the third Laporta touchdown catch came when the game was already out of reach and they were still throwing. So that's something to be aware of. It's very difficult to go, hey, they're going to throw a third touchdown pass to a tight end with 2 minutes left remaining in a blowout. That's how it works out sometimes, and there's no way we can know that. There's other games where the teams blow them out, and then we can't get our points because they stopped using them, and the Lions were just like, hey, let's rub it in for whatever reason. I don't know. So Russell Wilson does have one throwing touchdown to go along with a rushing touchdown. So again, from a fantasy perspective, he's going to get you home if you roll them out. Javonte Williams, 12 for 27. That was really surprising that he was not able to be fantasy relevant in this game. And then Courtland Sutton, 5 for 71. Jerry Jeudy, the surprising one, 7 targets, 3 for 74. I don't know how many people were rolling out Cortland Sutton, and then our other boy, little Jordan Humphrey, did get the touchdown catch in this game. Jared Goff, those 5 touchdown passes, no clue, don't know how do you predict that, especially in a matchup that I honestly still think was, for the most part, very difficult to decide whether or not you'd be rolling him out. Jared Goff, when we look at him overall, this was me saying that, and I will say again, when you're wrong, you're wrong. But my thought process in this is after, he's has a couple weeks where, he barely goes over 200 yards passing, doesn't hit 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, fumbles. He has, so I'm not expecting to get even the possibility of a 40-degree day. I know a sub 40-degree day is within his range of outcomes. Denver's been playing better. That's just kind of my thought process. And then he goes out and torches me for 5 touchdowns. So hopefully you didn't listen to me. You did your thing. And then the other guys from the Detroit standpoint, the Sun God, 9 targets, 7 for 112 and a touchdown. And then Laporte just ridiculously efficient, 6 targets, 5 for 56, and then 3 of them were touchdowns, and a couple of them were really interesting, nice looking plays by him. Bears and Browns last second field goal. Overall, looked like the Bears were going to win this, and then Joe Flacco and the Browns put up 13 late to get it done. Joe Flacco 3 picks in this one. Justin Fields a little disappointed. 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown through the air to Kmet. Didn't get it done on the ground. Bears and their rushing game right now, like, not predictive. Deontay Foreman 6 for -6, and then Roschon 5 for 36. So I think this is definitely a running back by committee. Hot hand. Khalil Herbert 6 for 8, and then DJ Moore 8 targets, 4 for 52. Again, I guess in the matchup, Browns good defense. Bears, Justin Fields is unpredictable. Maybe not rolling out the toys. Overall, like, trying to guess the week. No rushing work really of any consequence for the Browns. And then overall, yeah. So Amari Cooper, 8 targets, 4 for 106 or 109 and a touchdown. David Njoku, 14 targets, 10 receptions, 104 touchdown. Cedric Tillman's back on the table, 8 targets, 4 for 52 in this one. Elijah Moore didn't get the uptick that we were expecting him to stay with. So for the most part, outside of maybe the Bears, DJ Moore, everything else was kind of predictive in that game from what I kind of thought was going to go on. So here's another one that's a little interesting. Baker Mayfield, 4 passing touchdowns against Green Bay. And this is what we were looking at with the sit start Griff. Green Bay is actually pretty good in the secondary, giving up passing yards. And then Baker May goes 381, 4 touchdowns. Hey, sometimes it just happens. Rashad White, running back 1, up there for candidate for league winner, 21 carries, 89 yards, and that goes along with 2 for 50 and a receiving touchdown. And then the receiver to own this week was Chris Godwin, 12 targets, 10 for 155. I don't know how you'd be rolling out Chris Godwin in a lot of leagues after what he's done on the last week. Like I said, maybe you're chasing the targets from last week against Atlanta, the 11 targets overall. But, like, here's another one. Trying to look at, like, the last time he was really fantasy relevant was like week 8. And then you rolled him out in the opening round of your playoffs, trying to get a bad matchup from a team that doesn't give up a lot of passing yards. That's interesting. So Mike Evans does find the end zone again overall. And so he's going to be up there still as a wide receiver 1 overall, just because he's, doesn't matter how the sausage is made sometimes. So AJ Dillon was out. Aaron Jones played not particularly good. Four receptions to go along with 13 carries, but combined was it 69 yards. Jordan Love, again, sometimes I don't need to know how the sausage is made. 2 touchdown passes. If I rolled out Jordan Love in a good matchup, he got me home. I would be expecting a little bit more, but hey, 40-degree day. Dontavian Wicks, 6 for 97, 7 targets. That's something we've been tracking. I think that he is probably going to be in that range as long as Christian Watson is out. Tucker Kraft is another one that we were expecting to be where he is. I'm a little want to see again where he tight end 6 overall, and that's something that we could predict ahead of time. Jaden Reed is another guy that we could predict ahead of time, especially with Christian Watson being out. 8 targets, 6 for 52 and a touchdown. The guy that's really surprising to me the last couple of weeks is Romeo Doubs not being able to get it done. Texans Titans. This was one that I thought that the Titans were going to pull away in this one with a defensive touchdown in the second quarter, and then Case Keenum is the guy that they rolled, not Davis Mills, and he's just game manager extraordinaire. He gets it done with one touchdown pass, one interception. Devin Singletary. This is another one that's surprising with that Tennessee defensive line. 26 for 121, and that goes along with 4 for 49 on 5 targets. The other thing that was, or the other couple things that are interesting in this game is Dameon Pierce only 1 carry in this game. And then Noah Brown, 11 targets, 8 for 82 and a touchdown with Nico out. That was predictive. So hopefully you rolled those shares, even though CJ Stroud was out. And then Dalton Schultz, the number 2 there, 5 for 4 for 58 in this game overall. Overall, from the Tennessee Titans, I wouldn't have been rolling Will Levis out in this game. He is going to be interesting to talk about in the offseason. Again, that one rushing touchdown. Derrick Henry, 20 total touches combined for 10 yards. So that's interesting. And then chasing the opportunity is king. Doesn't pay off when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins, 9 targets, 2 receptions, 21 yards in the overtime loss. Jets Dolphins. So this one was another one that was went probably, I would say, as expected, but that would be after last week, not really knowing how this is going to work out, trying to chase the Dolphins and their offense that struggle against the Titans, and the Jets who looked good last week on offense, and then it's just a blowout, 30 points. So Zach Wilson gets knocked out, I think, with a concussion. Breece Hall, 6 for 12 on the ground to go along with 1 for 6 on 2 targets overall. That's disappointing. And hopefully, if you have your Jets shares, you found a way to get around this week. Garrett Wilson, 4 targets, 3 for 29. So again, I would probably say at this point, if you survive, like I wouldn't be playing with fire again when it comes to the Jets toys. Tua, this was another one that was predictive when it comes to the matchup. Even though he looked really good, I guess like 21 for 20, 24, 1 touchdown. This is one of the ones that was like, hey, go a different direction. So from a fantasy perspective, it doesn't matter if we were right or we were wrong. Other than the fact that like he didn't get it done. I think he's way down here. Quarterback 22. So it doesn't matter how good he was. It doesn't matter if it was a 30-0 game. It just matters, hey, can we get our points? The tea leaves said don't roll him. Hopefully you didn't roll your Tua shares. And then it doesn't matter if you were right or wrong. Raheem Mostert, 15 for 42, averages 2.8 yards a carry, finds the end zone twice. Doesn't matter. Devin Achane, he's a little bit more efficient, 9 for 32. That goes along with 3 for 30 on 3 targets. So again, like it doesn't matter. Jaylen Warren, again, this was predictive. So hopefully you rolled your Jaylen Warren's shares out with Tyreek, 9 targets, 8 for 142 and a touchdown, gets home. Chiefs and Patriots. So this one was a little bit closer at halftime than I was expecting. 14-10 at halftime, and then the Chiefs put 13 up in the third quarter. That pretty much was all that did her. And then a late garbage time touchdown for the Patriots. Patrick Mahomes, 27 to 37, 305, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Again, this is what we were talking about with Patrick Mahomes. Whether or not like he was going to get me a 40-degree day. Well, I knew that you're looking at like not having a great upside with the matchup. So hopefully you rolled the right guy and got that little bit extra, being cute this week. That's kind of what the thought process was. Can we predict it? We're not always going to be right, but the thing is, like on Monday morning, would I be okay with the decision I made? So hopefully like that's the idea behind this, that something's not right with the Chiefs offense. They're playing a defense that can really cause some problems. And that's exactly what happened in this one. And then the Chiefs got a little cute on top of that. You have Jerick McKinnon throwing a touchdown pass and then a bad interception at another point in the game. So Clyde, inefficient again, 13 for 37, but he does find the end zone on a 48-yarder, I think it was. Was it a 48-yarder? He gets home, 6-yarder that Clyde gets home on. But he did have a 48-yarder in this game early. And then Jerick McKinnon overall, you're looking at just the right usage. If a guy's getting used in the red zone, he's got the opportunity to score. So he throws a touchdown pass and has a receiving touchdown. So again, that's going to keep him in the range of this really volatile RB2 for the rest of the season if you have your shares. So the interesting thing in this one, Rashee Rice, this is the guy that we've been talking about for a while. 9 targets, 9 receptions, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. That's going to be really valuable overall in fantasy or in a PPR. I'm just looking down here. He did have another fumble, but he recovered it. And then what we were talking about in this one when it came to Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce, the Patriots have a tendency to take away the number one option. It looks like they decided it was going to be Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, 7 targets, 5 for 28 in this game overall. So like that was kind of the thought process. Hopefully you pick the right guys to be rolling out. Bailey Zappi, again, not good. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And this is what we talked about a couple weeks ago with volume-based running back in a bad offense. Zeke does 11 carries for 25 yards to go along with 6 targets, 5 receptions, 21 yards. So it doesn't even really give you a 40-degree day with all that volume because they're just not a good offense. Hunter Henry, 9 targets, does find the end zone early, 7 receptions, 66 yards. Did see that I think he got knocked out in this one overall. Just want to go verify that as he finishes tight end 3 overall. I think he did get knocked out in this one, but we'll have to see later on. That might have just been he left and came back in. And then that's about all I would have to say about the Patriots and the Chiefs. Giants and Saints. So this is another one I saw that Tommy DeVito did get knocked out. The legend got knocked out. Wasn't a particularly good game overall for the Giants. As you see, Tyrod Taylor came back in. Saquon disappointing, 9 for 14. And again, this is the downside of fantasy. So the Giants look like they're serviceable. They hit a matchup that's negative, and the question is, do we roll out our shares and gamble, or do we just say it's a non-predictive matchup and we bench them? That is one of the biggest problems with fantasy is like, the guy that I roll out that I get burned on, and the guy that I don't roll out that I get burned on anyway. So moving on, Darren Waller back, 6 targets, 4 for 40 in this game. The guy that's a little really disappointing outside of Saquon is Wandale, 4 targets, 4 for 25, expecting him to be a greater part of the vertical passing game in this one. Derek Carr just find the end zone 3 times, and that's partially based that Taysom Hill doesn't. So Taysom Hill, 1 passing attempt going along with 1 rushing attempt and 1 reception. So he doesn't find the end zone. Those scoring opportunities then go to Derek Carr. This is why I would normally say Derek Carr is not a good role. Alvin Kamara doesn't find the end zone in this one. You get 2 vulture touchdowns from Jimmy Graham and Juwan Johnson. I don't even know who Keith Kirkwood is. He gets the other one. So there you go. Lynn Bowden was the guy that I was expecting to get an uptick. He did have 5 targets, 3 for 31. Those were mostly early on in the game. And then Falcons, Panthers. So this one's another ugly one. I was expecting that the Falcons would win this probably like 17 to 10. And it's a 9-7 one. Panthers kick a last second field goal to win the game. Desmond Ridder, again, if I was expecting the stat line for him to be 12 for 20 with 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and then they won the game, that wouldn't surprise me. Tyler Algier led the Falcons with a 14 for 45 on the ground. So predictability in fantasy. The only thing that we know with Bijan is that he's going to be used very poorly, and it's going to be very unpredictable. So he does 7 carries for 11 yards, and that goes with one reception for 3 yards and 3 targets. So yeah, the other 2 things that I was expecting in this one was Kyle Pitts and Drake London to be like 40-degree day guys, and Kyle Pitts 4 for 3 for 37, and Drake London 3 for 2 for 24, and then the leading receiver is Johnny Smith with 2 receptions for 61 yards. Yeah, Arthur Smith, he needs to go away. That's going to severely hurt all these Atlanta Toys next year if he's back next year. Overall in Carolina, if anyone cares, Bryce Young serviceable, 18 for 24, 167. Chuba volume-based guy, 22 for 87. That goes along with 2 for 16 through the air. Jonathan Mingo did have 5 targets, still not good. Adam Thielen did have 7 targets, still doesn't matter. 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 Matter Commanders and Rams. So I was expecting this to be a little bit more of a shootout, and it wasn't. Sam Howell got benched. Jacoby Brissett came in late through 2 touchdowns to make it close. Otherwise, the Rams were kind of in control of this for most of the way through. Was expecting Chris Rodriguez to get a majority of the rushing work, and he did, 10 for 35. Antonio Gibson, again, this was something I was expecting for that he would stay in that role that he's been doing all year as that like change of base receiving back. He did do that for 15 on the ground to go along with 5 for 20 through the air. Scary Terry finally had like a breakout game. 12 targets, 6 for 141 and a touchdown, long of 48. Curtis Samuel, 2 touchdowns. In my mind, I guess there is a possibility that people would have been rolling out McLaurin and Samuel. The Rams defense isn't particularly good. McLaurin and Samuel would be in that wide receiver 3 range. So I don't know how many people necessarily got those numbers. McLaurin was on my bench in the league I got bounced on. And then, I could definitely see that Samuel was even on some waiver wires, a lot of places. So Matt Stafford, I was expecting a little bit more in both the yards and the passing touchdown category. 258, 2 touchdowns. Kieran Williams, 27, 152, 1 touchdown, 2 fumbles lost in this one. Overall, Cooper Kupp, 8 for 8 for 111, 1 touchdown, long of 62. And then Puka, 8 receptions, 5 for 50 in this one overall. And then probably was expecting a little bit more scoring from both teams. That didn't happen, and that reflected overall that I would say that Matt Stafford was a little disappointing, and then not really surprising that only one of Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua got home in this game. So 49ers and Cardinals, and this was another one like wasn't expecting there to be was that 74 combined points in this game. So Brock Purdy throws 4 touchdowns, 2 of which go to Christian McCaffrey, 2 of which go to Deebo Samuel. If you rolled out your George Kittle shares, you probably got away with it. 2 for 54 in the passing game. If you rolled out Brandon Ayuk, you probably got burned. 5 targets, 3 for 37. And then Deebo, not particularly good, but those 2 touchdown passes, you'll get me through my week. That's all it really matters. Sometimes don't need to know how the sausage is made. And McCaffrey does 18 for 115 and a touchdown. For the most part, I would say like this is spot on with what we thought was going to go on in this game. From the 49ers perspective, if I was rolling out Kittle, Samuel, and Ayuk, I knew that I have a chance to get burned, and I also have a chance to get home. So from the Cardinals perspective, I was expecting it to be a particularly ugly game. Kyler Murray to be kept under wraps, and he, for the most part, was 6 for 49 in the rushing game. Only 211 yards in the passing game, 1 touchdown throwing, and nothing on the ground. So DeMarcado and Connor did get home in the passing game. This is one thing I would be a little surprised with. It does look like there was 234 team rushing yards for the Cardinals. That surprises me overall. Was expecting that a little bit more run from Michael Carter, a little bit less run for James Conner, and James Conner not to quite be as efficient as he was. Did have a long of 44, and Amari DeMarcado did have a long of 49. I'm assuming that's later in the game. Trey McBride, the unicorn, he may be the even after Laporta did do his 3 touchdown passes. McBride may be the number 1 tight end overall in fantasy because he is the number 1 option in that offense. And Isaiah likely may be the number 2 because he may be the number 1 there in Baltimore. It's probably a little less concrete that Isaiah likely is the number 1 in Baltimore, but Trey McBride definitely is. And when it comes to Arizona, he does 11 targets. The next closest guy has 4. Michael Wilson disappointing 3 targets, and I'm looking for Hollywood Brown. I don't even know if he played in this game. I'd have to go look that up and see questionable return. So he got knocked out with a heel again. So hopefully you didn't roll those shares out if you're wondering about that. And then Cowboys Bills. So this one was one of the ones I said was really interesting. So the Bills just basically beat down the Cowboys. And they did it. If you would have told me this ahead of time, that Josh Allen would have won the game going 17 for 15 with one touchdown. Overall, I would have said I don't believe you. He finishes as quarterback 16 on the week right now, going into the Monday night games. So the Bills have 266 yards rushing. James Cook does 25 for 179 and a touchdown, along at 24. And then overall, all the passing options in Buffalo disappoint this week. Dalton Kincaid, 2 targets, no receptions. I think I saw someplace that he dropped both of them. Gabe Davis, 1 target, no receptions. Stephon Diggs, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 48 yards. Khalil Shakur, 1 target, no receptions. So overall, like, James Cook is going to be up there right now as one of the playoff MVPs going forward. The whole Dallas offense disappointed this week. Dak throws an interception, only 134 yards rushing. The CD Lamb gets home with a rushing touchdown late. I didn't even see that he was how he got there. So he does 10 targets, 7 for 53. So he's the only guy that's going to really survive your week outside of Jake Ferguson, 8 for 6 for 44. And then Tony Pollard, really disappointing. Only 11 carries for 52 yards to go along with 3 for 2 for 5 in the passing game. That's just really disappointing. And they like I said, it's really surprising that Buffalo just did it on the ground overall in this game. So yeah. And then Ravens and Jaguars. This one was not particularly interesting. So the expectation that is that Baltimore has been a little inconsistent with their offense, but their defense has been good, and the Jaguars have been very inconsistent all the way around. And that's basically how the game shook out in this one. Lamar Jackson, 171 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That goes along with 97 rushing yards. Keaton Mitchell gets knocked out with a knee, 9 for 73. Gus Bus finds the end zone. Let's see. Isaiah Likely, 5 for 70 and a touchdown on 6 targets. Rashad Bateman, 6 targets, 3 for 39. Odell Beckham, 3 targets, 1 for 14. And then Zay Flowers, 2 targets, 1 for 7. So this is what I've been talking about all year. Like, I don't know outside of the tight ends how many of these guys I would necessarily trust. Hopefully. And then with Keaton Mitchell potentially going down with a knee injury, that would upgrade, especially Gus Bus, and move potentially Justice Hill into that wide receiver 3 or running back 3 type range. So Jacksonville, I don't know how many people would be trusting any of their Jacksonville Jaguar shares, as I get distracted for a minute by the color orange. Trevor Lawrence, this 1 touchdown pass that he had that went to Jamal Agnew was a 65-yarder. Otherwise, the offense was dead in the water most of the game. Again, the other disappointing thing is Travis Etienne, just really getting to the point where he's like, for lack of a better way to put it, he's benchable, just because, like, after the fact, I can look at him and say I can't even trust his volume. Zay Jones, 8 targets, 5 for 59. Calvin Ridley, 12 targets, 5 for 39. I guess Calvin Ridley's still going to be that, like, wide receiver 3 with the volume. Evan Ingram was disappointing, 6 for 4 for 28. But again, the matchup says I shouldn't have been rolling anybody in this game for the Jaguars if I could get away with it overall. So yeah, I think that's about it for how the sausage was made. And I will look at the numbers and get out after waivers on Tuesday. I'll do Chasing the Dragon on Monday with priority waiver picks up. I don't know how many, if any, priority waiver pickups they're going to be. I think it's mostly going to be streaming quarterbacks and defenses this week. The other thing is, for those of you that are still sticking around here, I am planning to do maybe like a weirdos video for those people that have week 18 fantasy games. Maybe a short one. I don't know how much I could do, like a long version of that one. I that's assuming that I am still interested. Hopefully I win next week to get into my finals. The other thing is, I would be expecting to do something like week 18 and week 19, just recap stuff. And then maybe a couple videos in the off season before free agency hits in March. And then wouldn't be looking at anything, maybe a couple things around the draft before and after the draft, and then picking up again sometime in like June, July. So that not a lot that I would be doing, but I will, if there are enough people that want that week 18 video, then I would do like a longer, more traditional one that I've been doing all year. But if there aren't a lot of people that want that week 18 video, then I would probably just keep it shorter. All right. So anyway, see you guys tomorrow.